I'd like to call to order the school board meeting of the Columbia Heights Public Schools for October 27th, 2020. If you would, please, if you're able, rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for joining us. If you're tuning in on Zoom, we're glad you're here tonight. Molly, would you mind doing roll call, please?
Sure. A Samurai?
Here.
Palmer?
Here.
Larkin?
Here.
Mueller?
Here.
Severson?
Here.
Lewis here.
All right.
I'm sorry,
Well,
and Superintendent Stenvik.
here.
Thank you.
She is here. All right, our mission statement is creating worlds of opportunities for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. Our core values are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. And we'll start tonight by moving on to the agenda approval, adjustments, announcements, and correspondence. So first, with the agenda approval, could I have a motion to move that forward, please?
So moved.
Laura, second.
Second.
Molly, any discussion on the agenda? All right, hearing none. Molly, would you do a roll call, please?
A Samurai?
Aye.
Palmer?
Aye.
Larkin?
Aye.
Mueller?
Aye.
Severson?
Aye.
Lewis? Aye.
All right, motion carries. Moving on to the announcements. On November 3rd is a general election. On Tuesday, up November 10th at 5 p.m., there's a school board subcommittee on policy via electronic means. On November 10th, also on Tuesday, the November 10th at 7 p.m., there's a regular school board meeting here in the community room and via electronic means. On November 12th, which is a Thursday at 5:30 p.m., there's a canvassing of the election results in the community room and via electronic means. On November 17th, Tuesday at 5:30 p.m., there's a school board work session in the community room here or via electronic means. And on November 24th, Tuesday at 7 p.m., there's a regular school board meeting here in the community room and via electronic means. If you'll bear with me, I need to read for you a note about electronic means. So, due to the current federal and state emergency declarations and the Minnesota directive to residents to stay at home and guidance about limiting person-to-person contact due to the COVID-19 or coronavirus pandemic, this meeting of the Columbia Heights School Board is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota statutes 13D.021, meetings by telephone or other electronic means. School board members are reminded to mute their microphones or phone when they're not speaking. School board members wishing to speak should raise their hand, or if we can't see you, unmute. Then wait to be recognized by the chair. The chair will determine the order in which board members wishing to speak will be recognized. When recognized, the board member should unmute the microphone, phone, speak, and then mute their device. All votes will be conducted via roll call. Each school board member should wait until their name is called before voting. This meeting is being recorded, and access to the recording will be made available on school district's website as soon as reasonably possible. All right, thank you. We'll move on to correspondence. Superintendent Stenvik, do we have any correspondence this evening?
Chair Severson, members, there is no correspondence this evening.
All right, thanks. We'll move on to communication to the board. At this time, any citizens or employee may briefly address the school board. The board will listen to the brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if desired, request that the administration follow up. The board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time. I'm not seeing anyone here besides the literal board members. So, Dawn, did anyone sneak in through the office? We normally ask Dawn.
No, Madam Chair, there's no.
Thank you so much, Dawn. All right, we'll keep going on. We'll move on to the consent agenda, which contains the personnel report from 10/27. Can I have a motion to move that forward?
So moved.
Give it to Lorian.
Second.
Molly gets a second. All right. Any discussion on the the consent agenda? Oh, it also contains lane changes. Yep. All right. Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
A Samurai?
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Larkin.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Severson.
Aye.
Lewis, aye.
All right, motion carries. We're going to move on to the acknowledgements of contributions. This is always a fun part, and I'll read the acknowledgement and then I'll ask for a motion to move that forward. All right, 1 second, lots of papers. All right. Whereas Minnesota Statute 123B.02 permits school boards to receive for the benefit of the district to bequests, donations, or gifts for any proper purpose and apply the same to the purpose designated. In that behalf, the board may act as trustee to any trust created for the benefit of the district and for the benefit of the pupils thereof. Therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Columbia Heights Public Schools, Independent School District 13, that the board accepts with appreciation the contributions detailed in the background in the amount of $12,282.09. Detailed background, monetary contributions. The following donations were made to the Columbia Heights High School Scholarship Fund. The Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters, $10,000. John Rockwell, $250. Peter Harilla, $250. Value in kind. Donations of scholastic magazines and books was made to Valley View Elementary by DonorsChoose.org. For Miss Nelson's class, estimated value of $522.09. Donations of school supplies was made to Valley View Elementary by Mark Emmy for student needs, estimated value of $130. Donation of uniform pants and underwear was made to Valley View Elementary by Barb McKellips for student needs, estimated value $130. Donation of 1,000 cloth masks was made to Columbia Heights Public Schools by New Veterans Construction for student safety, estimated value $1,000. Total fiscal year 2020-2021 monetary contributions to date are $58,162.01. Do I have a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
Laura?
Second.
Second, John. Thank you. Any discussion on this? Laura?
I thank you so much to the community for all the generous and thinking of our students. We always get such tremendous support, and to see that, you know, in a year that's as trying as this, that everybody is still, you know, thinking of the students and it's very heartwarming. It's great to be part of this community. Thank you.
Yeah, agreed. It's a incredible time, and it's really excellent to see people thinking of other people when there's a lot to think about personally. Other comments? All right. Let's do a roll call vote.
Samurai.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Larkin.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Severson.
Aye.
Lewis, aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you again to everyone. We will move on to discussion reports and information items. The first will be reports from members of the board. Board members will report on board activities since the last regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education. Let's lead off with Hala.
I attended the work session last week, and I've been talking to some constituents.
All right, thank you, Hala. How about John?
Pretty much the same. Attended the work session last week, and I've had a couple conversations with some parents in the district.
All right, thank you. And Molly?
Yep, I also attended the work session and then had an opportunity to cheer some Highlanders on in person, some football and volleyball games, which was exciting. And I've also had several conversations with parents. I think there's a sense of relief about what we're going to be doing moving forward, and also some gratitude about how well Heights from Home is going, considering everything. So
Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
That's awesome.
thank you. That's it.
How about Laura?
I also attended the work session, and I also attended Phase 4 training with MSBA through Zoom. I'd attended that in person some 10 years ago, and it was a little bit different doing it through the Zoom format. I actually thought that it was a little bit better. You had a little bit more time for self-reflection while you were working through like the policy and the different processes for, you know, seeking out community engagement. So I thought that was very useful, and I hope that they continue that in the future, especially because you didn't have to deal with the snow and trying to make travel arrangements, you know, for certain days in St. Cloud or Mankato or wherever they had it. And I also was able to attend the monthly Zoom meeting with our MSBA director. So we were able to talk a couple of school board members from around the area about different issues that they were going through and different concerns. And I will say that we were a little bit ahead of the game because we were 100%, hybrid, as far as distance learning. So we were actually in a little bit better position, whereas some school districts were being told that they needed to go to distance learning, and they really weren't developed at that point. So I think we're staying the course, and I so appreciate the guidance of administration, and particularly our superintendent. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Laura. Lauren?
Yeah, thanks, Natty. Last week, I attended the chair meeting prior to the work session and the work session as well. Also had the opportunity of watching the high school swim sections via video streaming, which was really fun to watch. So kudos to the school that put that on. They did a really nice job with that. Also took part in the high school parent meeting last week as well, and the chair meeting prior to this meeting. And like the others, I've had several conversations with community members specifically related to Heights from Home and the learning model.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Most conversations are revolving around learning models, Heights from Home, how their individual students are doing. Parents want to share the highs and lows, I think, which is important as a parent. I also attended the work session last week here in the community room, and I've been to a couple chair meetings, one prior to this and one prior to that, a work session. I attended Phase 4 training on policy and community education with MSBA, or community engagement, not community education, with Member Palmer, and we were able to actually have a brief meeting via the phone afterwards, and kind of just like, what were your takeaways? What did you jot down? What stood out to you? Which was really nice to have like a member there with you to collaborate with, and takeaways, right? Even though Laura's the vet and she's done this for a long time, it was nice. This was my first time. And then this morning, Superintendent Stenvik and I went to another MSBA sponsored thing for new superintendents and their board chairs, just to kind of lay out the vast array of services they offer. If there ever was a 1-hour advertisement for why a district should be involved with MSBA, it was this morning. But we did some texting like, oh, I didn't know they had offered that. Stuff like that. So I think it actually helped us probably utilize our membership better. So worth the hour for us. Well, collectively 2 hours, but worth the time to be there. So, Superintendent Stenvik, do you have a superintendent's report tonight?
Chair Severson, members, yes, I do. As you all have mentioned, really a big amount of time is taken up focusing on COVID-19, safety and security, learning models, all of that right now. So metro area superintendents continue to meet regularly. Last week I met with 3 different superintendent groups, the Anoka County superintendents along with our public health officials. Again, that was our second meeting. The District 916 superintendents, and then a weekly AMSD superintendent meeting. At that AMSD meeting, the executive director of the Minnesota State High School League also attended and presented. So last week there was just a lot of communication and conversation and questions around the high school league now that Anoka County case rates, and other counties as well, are spiking. So we're working that out, and so far we are able to continue with what we've been doing because as we'll hear a little bit later in this meeting, we're planning to stay the course and not change. As Member Palmer mentioned, some districts are having to kind of go backwards a little bit in their phases. So, but I do meet regularly with our own athletics and activities staff, and Mr. Henderson and Mr. Miller are weekly talking to coaches and students about if we are going to continue and the sports and activities and athletics that we've been doing, it's really important to continue to adhere to those safety guidelines. So the social distancing, the masking, and really that idea, that concept of being a team member also means being a team player outside of school as well. So, try and keep your team safe by adhering to those guidelines. So I guess I would echo that sentiment for all of our staff and students that come on campus, right? To be that Highlander team member. As Chair Severson mentioned, we attended the MSBA new superintendent meeting this morning and learned about many of the programs that they offer. Last week, we had an American Indian Parent Advisory Committee meeting. The committee is required to meet quarterly, but is choosing to meet monthly, so it's great, robust, and it's done via Zoom, virtually. Last night, the District Finance Committee met, and I do want to thank all of the community members, parents, and staff for participating in that Finance Committee. And lastly, I was able to stop by the JV and varsity volleyball games for a few minutes this evening prior to the board meeting.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we're gonna move on to the update on the learning models, and we'll welcome Superintendent Stenvik, Directors Tuckrell, Fry, and Hennekins, it looks like. I think I got them all. Sorry if I did not stick that landing. Who's gonna kick us off?
Chair Severson, members of the board, I'll go ahead and get started this evening. It will be Director Tuckrell and myself presenting on the learning plan update for Q2.
Got it.
Of course, our mission is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And with many of the projects that we're working on this year, we are leaning heavily on all of our core values in order to carry out the work that we're doing. This is an informational update as the board did approve the 2020-21 plan back in August. So of course, we're guided by the Governor's Executive Order, the Department of Education Safe Learning Plan, and the Department of Health guidance as well. And this is a snapshot of the graphic for the 4 different phases of our learning plan this school year. So going into each of them, phase 1, Heights from Home, that's really a new and improved version of distance learning, trying to provide that full, well-rounded instruction to students. Phase 2, which is where we began Q1, the start of this school year, modified hybrid, so most students learning in that Heights from Home, but really prioritizing students that have, targeted students with different needs that can come in on-site in a small group to have that in-person support. Phase 3 would be a full hybrid, so that would be something like an A-B schedule where students would learn 2 days a week on-site and then 3 days a week at home. And then phase 4, that's where we really hope to be someday. We all very much miss the students, and we miss the hustle and bustle of the schools and the lunchrooms and the hallways and playgrounds. We hope to be back to on-site learning. But hopefully we're learning a lot this year, and it's a new and improved version of on-site learning someday, right? In order to make decisions about our learning model, we review just a plethora of data. So looking at Anoka County data, adjacent county data, their COVID rates, we're also able to disaggregate that data down to the city of Columbia Heights, the city of Fridley, and the city of Hilltop. We confer regularly with county health officials and our public health officials. This October, we sent out surveys to families, students, and staff, and had a nice sample size, which Director Tuck will review for you. We've also, in addition to that survey, the second Heights from Home family requests is really we were seeking who would want specifically Heights from Home and nothing else. And then we have to look at our staffing capacity. Some of our teachers and other staff are unable to work on site, and we want to, and we do make accommodations for that. This complicated chart here, if you just look at the very bottom row, we have typically been in the second to the last row since August, right, since we've been tracking. And last week and this week, our case rate has ticked up, and I'm sure you've seen on the news that cases in Minnesota and in our surrounding states and community have been spiking. So we are indeed seeing that trend here. What you're looking at is not county data, but it's just limited to the city of Columbia Heights and the city of Hilltop, that 14-day case rate. So it does put us at that distance learning, which right now, the majority of our students are in that Heights from Home, and we are able to bring small groups of students with needs on site. Because of our case rates are spiking, I wanted to make sure to have a conversation with our regional support team and our representative, which I did. As mentioned earlier, many districts who went to a full hybrid or went to full in-person learning are now suddenly having to go back to distance learning, and it's a struggle to switch. We've committed in Columbia Heights to really review each quarter the learning model so that families are able to plan for that, plan for daycare, plan for care for their children and their schedules, rather than looking at it at a weekly or biweekly and sudden change for our families. Our regional support representative, I put the quote there, is that Columbia Heights Public Schools is on track and we're doing what's right now given the cases. So really, they're definitely in favor of our modified hybrid phase 2. So with that, we'll turn it over to Director Tuckrow to provide information on the survey data.
Good evening, Chair Severson, members of the board, Superintendent Stenvik. We did give a survey. It started on October 8th and went until the 18th, so about 10 days there. And these were the numbers that we received back. So in terms of staff, we surveyed our teachers as well as our non-licensed staff, students, and families. So we'll start with the students. We really wanted to check in from them how things are going in Heights from Home, what things are going well, what improvements we can make. And they gave a lot of amazing feedback. They talked about what's going really well is Zoom with teachers and classmates to be able to see each other. And that's a big change from the spring. The high school did do the Zoom in the spring, so we learned a lot from that. And now the whole district has that. So even our earliest learners, I heard that 4-year-olds were in breakout rooms this week. So kids were doing small group activities and coming back. It's pretty amazing what they can do. And what other things are going well is a platform and knowing what to do. And then we noticed workload on both sides. So that's an area we're really going to dig into the data. We noticed that some students are struggling with a workload in secondary. So we really want to look into that to see how we can support them with that piece. We asked the students what they feel comfortable in terms of contacting their teachers for support and help. And we noticed that email and Schoology or Seesaw were some big areas, but then also the secondary has the opportunity for office hours. And this was a big area for us to make sure that students had that chance to ask for extra support or ask questions, or the teachers had time to pull small groups and check in with students. So we saw about 30% of our students really using that part of it. And then we did see 5% saying they weren't comfortable. So on this survey, we are able to dig into that deeper and see who they are and connect with them so that we can support them with finding the support and help they need from their staff and teachers. And then we asked about what was too much, not enough, or just right in terms of time spent on class activities. And this was pre-K all the way up to 12. The red is good. Red means it's just right. So for the most part, students felt like it was just the right amount of work. Some felt a little too much and not enough. So we dug into that deeper too and looked at how long does it take to complete daily assigned work. And so this is work that's outside of their Zoom sessions. And we see as we get up to high school, which is what we would expect, that the time does go up. As we think about those AP courses or early college, it does have a lot more work with it. So we're going to be working with our teachers on November 13th, which is a professional development day in our district, and looking at this data and looking at each grade level, looking at it more and saying, okay, is this the right amount? Developmentally, does this fit? And then we asked our students if they felt like somebody cared about them. And this is a question that we ask in our climate survey every year. So we asked it in the spring as well and wanted to check in. And in our elementary world, in our pre-K, they said about 94% of them felt like their teachers care about them. And then 92% felt like they know where to go for their classes. And as we get up in the grades in the middle school, we notice it's still close to 90% at the top, and the number at the bottom goes up. So kids are starting to feel like independently they know where to go. and then high school as well, about 87%. And we know as we get to secondary world, they don't just have one teacher anymore, they have 8 different teachers. So sometimes that response does look different, and we see that on our climate survey as well, that the responses from elementary to secondary do look a little different. But we can also use this data working with our teachers on the 13th to see what we can do to support more mental health support, social emotional support for our students. And then our families. We asked our families what model they preferred, and blue is their first choice, their most preferred. Red is their second choice. And then the third and fourth choice, or least preferred, are the yellow and the green. So for our families overall, they preferred the full heights from home and modified. And then we broke it down by grade level because we really wanted to look at that we were looking at each group to see what they were interested in terms of learning model. And we saw very similar things between that. Here as well, looking at heights from home and modified hybrid as being the top 2. And then as you get to middle school and high school, it was even a bigger difference, that they really wanted that at-home learning as their most preferred method. In high school, we saw similar to middle school, the at-home and modified hybrid. So when we looked at their most preferred and we looked at what they chose as their number 1, 64.2% chose either heights from home or modified hybrid as their top choice. And as Superintendent Stenvik mentioned, we also asked families at any point, no matter what model a school district is in, have the option to choose heights from home. So Director Hennigan sent out a survey asking families who wanted to commit to heights from home for second quarter. And of the families surveyed, 57% said they wanted to commit to heights from home. And then we asked them what was going well with heights from home, because we still know that there's always room for improvement and we want to support as much as we can in those areas. And what they found going well was that synchronous learning, having the Zoom meetings, that clear schedule, the materials that were sent home. Every school, early childhood, all the way up to 12th grade, students received materials. I know the high school is looking at sending out more art materials. Elementary is looking at sending out more PE materials. It's pretty amazing what they can do with the materials on Zoom with their teachers. And then areas to look at for more improvement are receiving more communication in terms of the student progress, as well as looking at that time that's spent outside of the Zoom session, making sure it's an appropriate amount of time. And then we asked our teachers and our staff for how is it going? And in terms of our teachers, we asked the same question, with blue being most preferred and the green being least preferred. And they preferred really that full heights from home and the modified hybrid. Our non-licensed staff agreed as well. Full heights from home and modified hybrid were their top 2. And then we asked what's going well. And they had a lot about what's going well, about collaboration, student participation and attendance, technology, feeling like they got into a routine. And then areas to consider to keep working on would include the mental health, balancing the workload both for the teacher as well as the family and the student. And then also giving the extra support, ensuring that students who are needing the extra support are receiving it. And then we asked for some stories. Share with us what's happening, what's going on. And there were amazing stories from our teachers. They really could go on and on in terms of the stories that they have, the connections that they're making, the relationships that they're building. We had teachers sharing how the kids know all of their classmates' names. So even on Zoom, they're learning that piece, they're learning routines. That connection with families was evident on a lot of comments, that teachers and families really feel that partnership together in their children's education. And a lot of students shared that the days have been going by fast, a lot of engagement happening. And then the last one just shares about the teacher feeling very proud to be in Heights and feeling like what we're doing and proud of the work that they're doing. And we saw that on a lot of comments from families as well as from teachers. Proud of the work that's happening, knowing that we're in a pandemic, but they're still trying as hard as they can to serve our students in the best way possible. And one comment was about attendance earlier, and this was impressive to look at. Our attendance is usually in the 80s when we're in person, and we have very high attendance right now. The goal from the Department of Education is to be at 91%, and our current September, October attendance rates are here, and they're all 94% or above. So the teachers are really reaching out to connect with students. Families are really supporting students as well. So that partnership is evident when we look at these numbers. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Superintendent Stenbeck.
Thank you. As mentioned earlier, we are weighing out the capacity that we have with our staffing and making accommodations for staff with who need those accommodations. And at this time, we have about 50 staff requests. And as we're looking, is part of our modified hybrid, that phase 2, we broke down students with needs into priority 1, 2, and looking at possibilities for quarter 2 for priority 3 students. So you can see priority 1, early childhood, pre-K 3 students, our English learners that are newcomers, students with special needs, 12th graders at risk of not graduating, and then other K-12 students that have been identified with school-linked mental health services through Lee Carlson. And each school, depending on their staff capacity, is really able to bring on priority 1 and or priority 2 students. So with priority 2, opening it up to small groups, small safe groups of English learners, that would be the next level up, other students with an IEP or special needs. And we've been talking a lot about priority 3 for quarter 2. What are the other supports that we could put in place? And the survey data and parent-teacher conferences that are happening last week and this week and coming up next week are really helpful for us to gather that additional specific data for what students need. So we're looking at different kind of social skills, social emotional learning supports for some of our earliest learners, looking at tutoring, maybe after school tutoring, different times for tutoring, hiring different folks. Sometimes it might be a teacher who can come after school and tutor. And then just identifying those students who struggled in quarter 1. We are seeing a lot of students be very, very successful with this modified learning and Heights from Home. But of course, there are going to be students that do struggle. And so each school, each classroom, each grade level is looking to identify those. And we're having conversations about transportation, days of the week, capacity of the building, capacity of the staff, so how we can support them. And I've just been really impressed with the creativity of the staff. So we do analyze the data, and here is a list of some of the advantages and disadvantages for continuing with our current model with modified hybrid. So one of the biggest factors that we're seeing right now is that the majority of our students are receiving 5 full days of instruction. So that full instruction, the standards, the content. Schools who are in that full hybrid are able to get full instruction from their teacher about 2 days a week. And then the other days of the week, they're learning at home kind of on their own, that asynchronous, unless they're actually able to Zoom into the classroom, which some of the older kids can do, but the little ones, it's a lot harder to do that. So that's one thing that's been really robust here in Columbia Heights, is that full instruction each day. So of course, another advantage to keeping people safe is our current spike of the case rates in our local community. One advantage is that through additional federal funding through the CARES Act, we have been able to purchase hotspots, so trying to eliminate barriers to access for families. So that's internet at home to no cost to the families, one-to-one devices for students. I think some families are well aware that everyone in the world is ordering laptops right now, and so there are some grade levels that are using older models, and those families know that we have them on order and they're coming. In fact, I think Director Hennekins mentioned that we know at least one shipment is in customs right now, so it's on its way. We don't know how long it'll be in customs, but we're waiting, really excited to get those. Director Tuckrell mentioned attendance, and then the professional development for staff. Using the survey data, we're really able to drill down and provide that support to the teachers. Every week they get tech tips and new ways of teaching, and many people just talk about not wanting to go back to the old normal, but what is this new normal that we're creating? And again, I just want to thank our food system, our food servers, and meal distribution continues to be robust. If any families out there are looking for meals, please sign up for the meals. It really does help the school district. The more meals that we're able to distribute, the more we can support our food service workers. More meals would be great. Of course, for disadvantages, we look at things like screen time, and we've always looked at screen time, right? Family workload, we know, is an issue, so we're trying to mitigate that by delivering that live instruction via Zoom rather than like a packet, right? Isolation factor, and then that second bullet there, some of the classes that are really dependent on hands-on learning. So think about a woodshop class. Director Tuckrell's really been working on that with the teachers and has some great ideas. But at first, it takes a minute to really figure some of those pieces out. I mentioned earlier that we're really looking this year, considering moving to different phases or different learning models at the quarter breaks so that families have a regular date that they can look to. And here's a list of some of the considerations that we need to take into account when determining what the learning model will be. And so I talked about transitioning with the phases. The school board has approved the 4-phase plan in August, and we are reevaluating each quarter. And so we were able to send out a communication on Friday, a letter to students, families, and staff, and it's posted on our website as well, letting everybody know that the recommendation for quarter 2 is to continue with modified hybrid. Now again, this is taking into account the survey results, 64.4% of the families asking for either distance learning, Heights from Home, or modified hybrid. With modified, we're able to see which families really do need, and students need that on-site support and provide it. Our case rate is at the highest. Right now, our current local case rate is at the highest it's been, and across the state it's rising. And again, all of those other factors that we've listed has led us to really determine that the kids will be able to get more instruction, that 5 days a week full instruction, and do it in a safe manner, given our staff capacity, our students' and families' wishes to continue that way. So there's just the graphic again, and with that, we can stop sharing and answer any questions.
All right, questions?
I got
Lorian.
Natty.
Lorian.
Just want to reiterate, and I think you touched on this. I know we talked about this at the work session as well. Looking at one of the first slides that showed our cases here in Columbia Heights and Hilltop, we're at the full distance category.
Yes.
But if you could just reiterate that we, in your conversations with our representatives and the folks that we need to check with, that we are permitted to do the modified hybrid.
Yep, that's correct. So we are assigned a regional kind of caseworker, and we had a phone conversation, and she has been in multiple meetings all last week. And so I did reach out to her individually and explained our model, and we got full support.
Okay, good.
Full permission to continue with what we're doing.
And I came up at the work session last week,
Yeah.
and that could be confusing. It's supposed to, good clarifier, thank you.
Yeah. And then one other comment, again, I think we talked about this at the work session too, and for people that are watching at home, I know that we've talked at our board reports that a number of conversations have been had with us as board members regarding Heights from Home, and I think the conversations that I've had is overall things are going well. They appreciate the decision, the modified hybrid for quarter 2. But if there are families that are out there that are really struggling, whether the family's struggling to provide the support that they feel like their student is needing, or their student is struggling, and it's just not working for them, what do they do?
We read every single comment from the surveys from students and staff and families. And so we do really appreciate that they took the time. And many parents left their email, their contact information which was optional on those surveys. And so our principals are following up with each of those folks. And if a parent or a student is struggling and they weren't able to take the survey, they can always reach out to their principal or their main teacher.
And I want to reiterate that again. I don't feel like we can say it enough. If you or your kids are struggling, reach out to their teacher and their principal, because we want all of our kids to be successful, and it might need a team to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And is the same true if parents are looking for mental health support for their students as well? They can reach out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Same people, administration or principals at the buildings, or their student teacher?
Yep, so we've got a student assistance team at each school, and so if whoever they feel comfortable reaching out to, really in that case is what I would say. If you know the social worker or the school psychologist, they can reach out directly to them. Otherwise, principal or teacher can direct them into the right person.
Thanks. More questions or thoughts?
I was just going to kind of say the same things that Lorian already touched on. Just grateful that we're able to do the modified hybrid so we can continue to provide those services. I think it's so important. And just thankful that we were given that permission to move ahead and continue doing that. And then also just acknowledging that we know for some students and some parents that this is really hard. When we talk about the positive comments, we know that there are families that are struggling, and this hasn't been easy, but just hoping that things continue to go as smooth as possible and reaching out to those principals.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I think it's acknowledging that even for families who would probably say this is going well, it's not without challenges, right? For some people, it's really been an extra struggle, but even for people who would say it's going well, their kids are still lonely, right? There's still the challenges that we're facing as adults, probably magnified because we're not living in the head of an adolescent or a child, right? And so I want to acknowledge that that's hard, and thankful for the teachers, but also thankful for your all leadership, to just give the kids and the staff the consistency to really be good at what they're doing, rather than swinging back and forth every week or two with new ideas and then changing dates. I know there's parents in surrounding districts who are frustrated and don't know what to expect, and so I appreciate this as much as it is challenging. So thank you. Others? Well, thank you so much, Director Tuckroll, Superintendent Stenvik, for being with us tonight. Great job on the presentation. We're going to move on. Oh, it looks like you're back, Director Tuckroll and Principal Robleski, for the Building Vision Scorecard for Columbia Heights High School.
Good evening, Chair Severson, members of the board, Superintendent Stenvik. I'm here with the principal of Columbia Heights High School, Dan Robleski, to share the strategic roadmap from the high school, and this is data from last school year, so 2019-2020. Our mission in Columbia Heights Public Schools of creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And tonight the core values really include all of them as we look at the work that they did last school year, incorporating all of our core values throughout the year. This is informational update, so no governance will follow. And our strategic roadmap. So the strategic directions are based upon the key strategies towards vision, the A, B, C, and D. And Principal Robleski will share where Columbia Heights High School was in each of these areas. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Principal Robleski.
Thank you, Director Tuckroll. Good evening, Chair Severson, members of the board, Superintendent Stenvik. I first want to start off and tell you, I've been sequestered to my basement for the last 10, 12 days. And I'm going to date myself, but if you've ever seen Wayne's World, I feel like I'm in Wayne's World right now. I'm going nuts down here. I miss the kids. I miss the teachers. It's quite a struggle, but there's some really good news in our vision, and I want to share some. I want to share with you what's been happening at the high school this year as well. But to start us off, what I wanted to do is, as you look at these matrix, I am going to go ahead and just highlight one or two categories in each matrix. And if you have questions on the other ones, I'll for sure try to answer them as well. But I'm very proud of the direction that our staff and our students are taking us with the support of the district office and well as the school board. So before we go any further, I would like to thank all of you for the support in where we're going and where we need to go. So under strategic direction A, I would like to look, which I'm very proud of, I'd like to look at A2, which is teacher absences. And you can see it's an 8% reduction from the previous year. And that is a highlight for us because we're in double digits of that reduction of absences for teachers. And as we do know, research proves out that the more our teachers are in attendance at school, the better our students will be academically. And we're excited to see that that has had a huge move this year, and we're excited for that. The other area I'd like to highlight is our professional development on trauma for our students. We continue to move forward and progressing that area. It's an area of focus for all of us, even with our equity work that we're doing as well. But as you can see, we're progressing and making sure that our students' social and emotional needs are being taken care of. So we're excited about the trending data that we have there. Under our school climate, you know, I'm not going to get out of this presentation without talking about keeping it real. And our core values at the high school of real have really had an impact on our high school. And one area that I'd really like to highlight is the out of school suspensions. And as you can see, it's less than 10% or fewer the number of students total in the building. And we're in single digits in both years. I will say there was an uptick from 19 to 20, and that has to do with vaping. And we have taken measures and have reached out to do some public service announcements about vaping. Since we did do that, we did see a drop with that concern of vaping in the building. But other than that, we are in single digits for suspension at the high school. And I really want to take a minute to talk about the interventions that not only are our teachers doing, our administration's doing, that pre-work ahead of it before we get to a suspension. And making those phone calls home, having mediations, having parent meetings, all those different types of intervention has had a positive impact on our suspension rate. So I just want to recognize the work of our teaching staff as well as our administrative team, our social workers, our school psychologists, in really working and focusing on the social emotional needs and also making sure that we keep kids in school. So we're excited about that suspension rate and also the school climate where kids feel safe. Under strategic direction B and personalized learning, B1 is one I want to focus on, as I want to really give kudos to our teachers last year. We went synchronous learning from the very beginning on March 19th, or that week after March 19th. And they embraced that vehicle of delivering, which was Zoom. Not a lot of schools, very few schools, did asynchronous Zooming last year. And our teachers were able to do that And what that has allowed us to do is we are at 100% of the learning management system now. So as our teachers this year knew we were going to distance learning or heights from home, they didn't have to focus on that delivery model, which was Zoom. They were able to refine and continue to work on their LMS or their learning management system, which has really helped our students and close that achievement gap. So again, I'd like to take a moment to recognize our teachers for embracing Zoom last March, taking that on, being asynchronous, and then moving forward with their learning management system. So a lot of credit needs to go to the support from teaching and learning, as well as our teachers embracing that and doing what was best for our kids. And we believe we had a quality education last year via Zoom and synchronous, and this year as well. So hats off to everybody for making that happen. The last, can you go back just a minute? The last one is Khan Academy. We have been promoting the College Board Khan Academy, us aligning with SAT. And as you can see, we're baseline, but we continue even now in distance learning for our kids to get that enrichment that they need through Khan Academy. And we're excited to see what results we get with that. As you can see under academic achievement, a lot of data is not available to us, but the area that I do want to look at is the exams of the AP. And you can see there was a drop, and everybody across the nation had a drop due to the pandemic. And our drop was not as, we went down from progressing to baseline, but I feel confident once we get going and we've embraced Zoom and our learning management systems, and our AP teachers are really embracing our office hours, our Highlander time to do small groups and work with our students. I hope we will be progressing into that progressing category. But the other work that's been done and continues to be done is that vertical alignment at the middle school with Principal Burkus and his staff. We have worked now in our AP courses to vertically align as the students move up grade by grade to close those achievement gaps. And I hope that in the near future, and our vision is to get to that, to get to vision. And I believe with that partnership that we have with Principal Burkus and his team, we'll continue to inch closer to that vision. And communication with parents, our staff has dedicated to doing weekly email blasts to our parents each week. It gets hard to, some of the project-based courses that we have, there's not a lot to report as they're working on projects, and we've asked our project-based teachers to scale or scaffold back or chunk their projects so that we can have a better baseline of where kids are going at. But what we've really been focusing on is that teacher email blasting through Synergy. We continue to be, we'd like to be closer in the 80 to 90%, 90 and above rate of weekly email blasts. So that's 90% of our teachers each week communicating with their parents. The one thing that we've done with the principal communication is we're having monthly parent meetings, Zoom meetings, and we've had good attendance. We'd like to get more, but we also believe that by posting that video on our website, that parents are able, if they can't make it at the time of the meeting, of the Zoom meeting, they're able to go back. But we feel one other thing that we're doing this year to enhance parent communication is all of our teachers are having conferences, virtual conferences this year using My Conferences. So at the high school, each child will have that opportunity with their parent to have a Zoom meeting with their teacher, all 8 of their teachers. So it's new. We're going to try it and see how it goes with all 8 teachers. And we had a staff meeting today. Our teachers are prepared and ready to go. We continue to communicate out each day this week to our parents to sign up by myconference.com, which is on our website, and we continue to send that link out as well. I think one of the, when we look at improving our daily interactions with students, families, and community, a highlight is returning mandatory forms before the start of the school year. We were over 90% with 1 week before we did our material or Chromebook handout. We are very proud of how our community, our students, our parents responded to get the forms in so that our students were prepared the first day of school or that first week to be prepared for learning. And this is an exciting piece because we've been forced to go to technology and use technology on these forms, and all of our parents have embraced this, and if not, people were in place to make sure that they had those forms completed. So that is a true highlight. We continue to work on virtual parent meetings, virtual college visits, virtual college application nights. We continue to work on that unknown of virtual and to continue to serve our kids. Under our managing our resources and our financial well-being at the high school, I just believe that we've been able, the administrative assistant at the high school, Yvonne Padilla, is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Conscientious about budgeting and working with teaching and learning to make sure that we have the money, the resources, and the correct consumables for our students and staff to be successful. So in creating budgets and having that ability to manage those budgets, we've been able to continue support our students and our staff each year with the materials that they need. And then under D1, the teachers daily using grade level curriculum instruction. I just want to highlight that one as well. It's always good. It's great practice, best practice to challenge our students with grade level material. And I think a couple years ago when the high school teachers and students won the Small School District of the Year award from AP College Board, that was a real wake-up call that we can challenge ourselves as teachers to make curriculum that challenges our students, that makes them come out of their comfort zone and learn. And I think through that experience a couple years ago, we continue to challenge our staff and students to deliver a high quality education and for our students to learn at a high level as well. And then our school goals for this year is to continue to communicate with our families. We will, our course alignment at the high school and our courses will be horizontally aligned. We work with teaching and learning and our continued drive for equity within our schools and within our departments at the high school doing book clubs. And then two content goals that we're really focusing on is, as you can see, a 5% increase in our 10th grade reading scores in MCA, as well as our 11th grade math, a 5% increase. That's our goals for this year. At this time, I'll open it up for questions.
All right, thanks, Dan. Any questions? Comments? Go ahead, Laura.
I actually have one question, and I'm relatively sure that we don't know the 100% answer for this right now, but how are we going to be able to do some of these required testings? Because that's usually done, you know, on site and timed.
Do you mean
That's
like
that one, Dan.
ACT?
Go ahead.
Yeah, like your MCAs and SATs and,
The Department of Education, Minnesota Department of Education works with the federal government to determine what the requirements will be during the pandemic. In the spring, they did say we didn't have to do testing. Currently, testing is required if you are in a hybrid or an on-site learning. They are every week on the MDE phone calls. Superintendent Stenvik and I are on there, and they give updates as they're happening. I'm pretty sure we'll hear an update on that as testing gets closer, but currently that's our guidance on that. We recently just had SATs, and we offered SATs to our 12th grade students at the high school and offered it on site. So we offered transportation, small groups, followed all the social distancing, wearing a mask, but really wanted to give our students that opportunity since they didn't have it in the spring. So we will continue to update families as we get that guidance from MDE. Well, we will follow the guidance that we receive from MDE as well as the College Board for SAT and AP and provide that as soon as we have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Good question.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Lorraine.
Going back to the data on out-of-school suspensions, I know that this came up at another presentation earlier, but looking at our numbers from last year, obviously, that kind of ended in March, as we weren't doing suspensions after everybody got sent home. And you had said that it was trending up a little bit based on vaping, but overall, how did you see those numbers up until March? And how has behavior been for our students who have been doing online learning since March?
That's a great question. The information that I received with the comparison to ticking up was 1920 from September to March, and then 1819 to March, and 19 to 20 to March.
Okay.
And so when we looked at the data, the uptick in the suspension was really based on that category of vaping.
Okay.
So we didn't see an increase, a significant increase in any of the other suspendable categories. But when we did that comparison, that uptick was due, or, you know, when you analyze it, you're like, all right, what happened? It was due to our increase in vaping. And then what was your second question?
I think just any general information about behavior during the distance learning times.
It was, that's a great question. Last year, when we started with Zoom, we saw an uptick in Zoom bombers coming in, and that was due to students not keeping it real and sharing that link with others. Sometimes these Zoom bombers last year were not even connected in our own district, maybe not even in our own state. And so what we've been able to do is educate our students on keeping it real, and you keep those links in-house, and we've done a very good job of it. We had problems the first 2 weeks of school with the Zoom bombing, but that has since died down. Have we had a few problems? Absolutely, we have. Our administrative team has worked closely with our teachers and parents to really help our students understand the safety and security of Zoom and everybody in those meetings. So once we've become acclimated to doing Zoom, the Zoom bombers have drastically dropped, and we've taken some measures with our teachers that every teacher, when a student comes to class, has to turn their camera on and identify themselves as a Columbia Heights student. So by doing that, we have literally eliminated any Zoom bombers, and our teachers have been able to teach. Do we have kids making inappropriate comments at time or trying to be funny as they would in a regular classroom? Yes. And we've been addressing that. But I would tell you right now, from what I know in my home school district, our kids are performing and behaving better than most schools that are doing Zoom. So I'm very proud of how our students are handling Zoom and keeping it real. I just want to make a comment. Over the last 3 weeks, I've been in classrooms via Zoom, and it's tough. And I can't, my hat's off not only to our staff for becoming very creative in their lesson planning, but hats off to our students who are really engaging and making this work. I can't say enough for the staff and students in making this distance learning work for us. And I'm very proud of that. And I think as Superintendent Stenvick has said, we've kind of embraced distance learning, Heights from Home. And we've really we've acclimated ourselves to it. We understand a community and keeping everybody safe. And I say that that's from our kids' perspective. So I think I've done a long roundabout way saying, have we had problems? Yes. Have we eliminated most of them? Yes.
Thank you.
You can tell he's been in that basement.
I've been down here with Wayne and whatever the guy's name is.
Garth, it was Garth.
Yep.
Garth, yes.
Yeah, we had a Wayne's World joke at our house today too, so that's very coincidental. I mean, our kids, of course, had no clue what we were talking about, but any other
Right.
questions out there related to actual school board business, not really old Saturday Night Live skits? All right, well, thank you, Director Tuckrell and Principal Robleski for joining us tonight. Thanks.
We're not done yet, Principal.
Oh.
Robleski.
Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We
Thank
have,
you.
we have.
I was even warned. Superintendent Stenvick warned me this is all natty.
Awesome. I'm really excited to present the premiere of the virtual ribbon cutting at the high school for all of the work in remodeling at the high school. And just again, I want to thank the school board for coming forward with the referendum and the community supporting our schools and the ribbon cutting that you're about to watch. Thank you to all. Let's watch the video. It's awesome.
So our former superintendent, recently retired, always used to say that we have our hearts in the arts here in Columbia Heights. And even though I know that superintendent is not working for us anymore, it's absolutely still something that this district believes in. We do a lot of arts programming here, whether it be music or theater, things like that. And you can tell this is something that the community is proud of and something that we absolutely all believe in and work together on.
The PAC and our main gym with the remote stage gives our district the ability, all schools in our district and our community, another open space which we've never had before to do performances, to have concerts, to bring in guest lectures to a larger group. And with the main gym, just offers us one more space that has the technology and the 21st century abilities to make it a great usable space.
So in this new band room, I think some of my favorite features are our practice spaces that we have. I love our natural light that we have. Sometimes we don't even have to turn the lights on depending on what's going on inside. The double ceilings are an amazing feature that every band room should have, and now we do. And then I think just the technology that we have here is really top-notch, state-of-the-art technology and recording capabilities in here.
It's really nice to have the opportunities after school to do things that you're really excited about. I've always loved the performing arts, and it's really great to have an expanded program that way. So now we're able to do band and choir concerts on that stage. We're still able to do our performances on that stage. It's just really amazing. The new band room is amazing. It's really nice to not have everybody cramped all together. Especially as a percussionist, it's really nice to be able to spread out, and there's space for all the instruments and space for all the students. And now that we have practice rooms that are actually secluded and soundproof, it's nice to be able to have that individual space to work on something.
The Performing Arts Center is a place that everybody in our community can come together. All students across the district have an opportunity to use and to see shows there and to perform there, as well as the performance space in the gym. It just gives us really a great opportunity to increase and enhance our performing arts capabilities. And that really goes along with our Columbia Heights mission of and our core values specifically community and I think innovation, which really allows our students and our staff to create and to come up with new ways to do things and perform, an opportunity for our students to learn a skill that they can carry with them lifelong. And just reiterate a huge thank you to our community. We know that it's always challenging when we're asking for additional funds, but this is truly a time and a place where these funds can be a huge benefit to our community, to our students, to our staff, to the overall experience at Columbia Heights Public Schools. And we're just so thankful for the generosity of our community.
On behalf of Columbia Heights Public Schools, I want to take this opportunity to thank the community for their support of the projects here at Columbia Heights High School. Over the years, as we've supported our music and arts programs, we've outgrown our spaces, and now with the help of the community and local partnerships, we're able to have these beautiful spaces for our students.
Construction projects like the band room addition and the performing arts space improvements at Columbia Heights High School can't be done without strong collaborative partners. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the community for their financial support of these projects. Secondly, I'd like to thank Cross Anderson, Hallberg Engineering, and MLA Architects. Together, we were able to build spaces that will meet the needs of our current students and the learning needs of future generations of students at Columbia Heights Public Schools.
I really would like this opportunity just to say yet another thank you to our community members and our school board and our administration here that support our arts education. I've taught in several different school districts over the years, and I really think that Columbia Heights does a fantastic job of community support, commitment to equity, and it really is it's a great district to be a band teacher.
I'd like to thank the community for supporting the referendum and making this possible for our kids in our community. We're elated to have these spaces. We're excited to use them. We can't wait to have our kids back and our staff back to use these to the utmost of their abilities.
Of course, I want to thank the community for voting yes. It's been such an amazing opportunity for us to have these new aspects to our school. I'm just really excited about the PAC, about the band room. It's phenomenal.
Great job, thank you. And I think we are thanks for showing us that. I think we lost Principal Robles. Oh, he's back. All right, any last comments or questions as we move on? All right, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We are going to move on to the action items, and our one and only tonight, we'll welcome Director Hennekens as we talk about authorization of bid publication for the high school roof replacement.
Thank you, Chairperson Severson, members of the board, and Superintendent Stenvik. This evening, I have, this has been, I feel like I've been here often asking for bid authorizations. We are continuing with our work on our roofs throughout the district. As presented, I think previously, we did a couple sections of roof at North Park Elementary, and at that time I mentioned that we did a study across the district identifying roofs on all of our buildings that were beyond their life, and this is the next phase, heading to the high school. We have a few sections of roof on the east side of the building that are early 1990s, 1990 and 1995. And so this is a call for bid authorization. So we are seeking approval to publish for bids for replacing some sections of roof on the high school. And this is funded through long-term facility maintenance dollars.
All right, thank you. Can I get a motion to move that forward?
So move.
John, second?
Second.
Lorian. All right, discussion.
Nope, I'm good.
No, none, all
Sorry.
right. Well,
You're all, I
everyone-
didn't realize you're all
just-
looking at me. I'm still
if-
staring at the screen.
If you all are not knowing what's going on because we're a bunch of squares for you, we were all staring at Lorian, who loves to ask questions about any facilities things. I think the question she normally asks, and I'm shocked she didn't, is this in our budget to do this project? Is it, you're forcing me to ask it.
Well, there you go.
That's, I guess.
Yes, it is. We submitted our long-term facility maintenance plan, which is board approved, and to the state already this year. That includes funding for these sections of the roof.
Right. Never, when I was, years ago, when I was talking to Molly and John about should I run for school board, never did they warn me that I'd hear so much about roofs and windows. So, never knew. So,
Well, once we
Exciting.
get these bids back, I'll
gonna
give
hear a
you
lot more.
more information about boilers and roofs and all sorts of fun stuff.
That's when I'll start asking more
the
questions.
boilers, you're way more
Boilers.
interested in the boilers.
Boilers and
Okay,
roofs,
I
yep.
see where her priorities
No.
lie. Boilers, then windows, then roofs, all right. Any actual questions? Because I'm way off topic, per usual. All right, can we get a roll call vote, please, Molly?
Sure. A Samurai. Paula?
Aye.
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry. Palmer?
Aye.
Larkin?
Aye.
Mueller?
Aye.
Severson?
Aye.
Lewis? Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll move on to, yeah, thanks, Brian. We'll move on to board topics. Anybody have any topics for this evening? All right, hearing none, we will close this meeting at 8:17.